Yo everybody, it's your boy Bahal back again with another creepy horror recap. But listen up, if you're under 18, turn back now. 2.5 years ago, Laura's beloved daughter drowned in an accident. Unable to accept her death, Laura risked everything, using an ancient ritual to bring her daughter back to life. To complete the ritual, she needed 2 hosts, one to offer to the demon, and another to serve as a vessel for her daughter's soul. Since Laura worked at a child protection agency, finding these hosts was easy for her. Ollie was one of them. She decided to turn Ollie into the vessel for her daughter's soul, letting her daughter's spirit live again through Ollie's body. The white line drawn at the door was a barrier to trap Ollie. If he crossed it, the demon inside him would go wild uncontrollably. With the vessel secure, Laura needed the other host. Once sacrificed to the demon, her daughter could be resurrected completely, so she set her sights on Piper, Andy's sister. Piper was a visually impaired girl who had lived a happy life with her brother and father. But after their father died suddenly in an accident, and Andy, still under 18, couldn't be Piper's guardian, the 2 children were placed in Laura's care by the child protection agency. They thought they'd finally found stability in their new home, but instead a dark abyss awaited them. When they arrived, Laura was overly friendly, clutching Piper's hand and calling her cutie, telling them to make themselves at home. But then Andy found Ollie standing oddly in the pool, wearing bright red trunks and playing with a cat nervously, until Laura came over and gently calmed him down. This scene triggered uneasy feelings in Andy. Determined to secure a stable life for his sister, Andy planned to apply for her guardianship on his 18th birthday. But just then, Laura suddenly appeared. One day, Laura took Piper out to explore, leaving Andy alone. She warned him to watch Ollie and keep him in his room. But while Andy washed his hair, Ollie suddenly smashed a window and sneaked into the backyard cage, looking ferocious and starved. The cage was locked, so Ollie returned, picked a dead fly from the glass and ate it, barely enough. Andy, trying to feed his brother, but his brother looks blank, grabs a knife and bites it hard. When Andy grabs a plate, his brother's mouth is bloody. Andy's terrified. He struggles to take the knife away and rushes to open the door to drive him to the hospital. Crossing the door's white line, the brother freezes in panic and refuses to move. Andy finally pulls him out. But the brother screams like a slaughtered pig, collapses, foams at the mouth, his eyes bloodshot, and his stomach convulses wildly, as if about to burst. Time passes until things calm. Then, oddly, the brother speaks something strange. Andy was trembling with fear from what he just saw. At the critical moment, Laura, his stepmom, returned. Seeing Andy so scared, she pushed him aside, stood in front of him, and told him and his sister to go back to their rooms and stay quiet, no matter what. Then she turned on the TV, playing a strange, eerie film. Following the video's instructions, she gently drew circles on Ollie's forehead, soothing him as she did. It wasn't until then that Ollie finally found his calm. Once a cheerful boy, he'd turned into someone neither fully human nor ghostly, all because of his mother's extreme and selfish actions. When Andy confronted Laura, the woman who was close to him just yesterday, she snapped, "Mind your own business," and slammed the door. From then, Laura's true nature began to show. She'd ruined her own chance. Her daughter was lost forever. So she plotted to frame Andy, driving a wedge between him and Piper. She sprayed herself with Andy's favorite perfume, then waited until Piper was asleep to approach his bedside. Piper's eye was swollen shut, pain clear on her face. Laura feigned sympathy, pretending nothing was wrong. When Andy rushed over, Piper blamed her brother, catching a suspicious smell. Andy was confused, and Laura quietly stirred the tension, fanning the flames. Hearing Laura's words, Andy grew more confused. He couldn't grasp why his sister was hurt, and why his stepmother had become cold. Then Laura shocked him, claiming he had a violent streak, injuring Ollie before and now swelling Piper's eyes. To her, he was an uncontrollable bully, ruthless and cruel. Well, as tensions rose, Andy glanced back and saw Ollie standing in the pouring rain with a strange, chilling look. Feeling uneasy, Andy pulled out his phone to record everything. But Laura, enraged, lunged forward, snatched the phone, and threw it away in a frantic outburst. Laura knows Piper can't see clearly and is unaware of what's going on. So she just happens to exploit this loophole, pretending to be a pitiful victim. Her goal? To mislead Piper into thinking Andy is abusing him. This drives a huge wedge between the siblings for the first time. When Andy tries to take his sister away, an unaware Piper shocks him by refusing for the first time. Seeing this, Andy angrily slams the door and leaves. Piper then turns and falls into Laura's arms. Meanwhile, Laura soothes Piper, but her eyes are ice cold. She stares out the window into the pouring rain, knowing her moment has come. Once the rain fills the backyard pool, she plans to push Piper in to drown her. At the same time, Ollie will consume her daughter's corpse. This way, Laura's daughter can return through Ollie's body. To make this happen, Laura first sends Piper to school, then returns to prepare for the ritual. But as soon as she reaches the room, she finds it a mess. Ollie is starving. She's torn apart the kitchen, but still hasn't eaten enough. So the moment Ollie sees Laura, when Laura slammed the door shut, Ollie completely lost it. He pounded on the door in a frenzy, trying to get through and devour Laura. But this little kid couldn't make much of a ruckus. He could only scream wildly outside. Starving. His gaze shifted to the tabletop, where he gnawed relentlessly with his baby teeth. His teeth finally broke from biting off tiny wood chips, but that barely filled his hunger. Desperate, he started biting the flesh on his own arm, chewing frantically as if he felt no pain. By the time he was full, the pool was nearly full too. Laura knew her moment had come. She quickly drew a circle on the window for Ollie, and instantly his body responded. He stopped being hungry or restless, turning almost zombie-like. Laura dragged him to a backyard shed, where he opened a freezer containing her daughter's corpse. Under Laura's watchful eye, Ollie crawled in and began ravenously chewing on the remains. Laura had finally completed the first step in her terrible plan. Now she just needed to bring Piper back and drown her in the pool. Only then could her daughter live again. But Laura didn't know that Andy was also busy. After leaving Laura's house, he headed straight to the Child Protection Agency where she worked, intent on reporting her for kidnapping, defamation, and suspected abuse. But there, in the list of missing persons, he recognized a familiar figure. Not Ollie, but a girl named Kona, whose identity Laura had altered by changing her gender, name, and shaving her head to keep her hidden. Only then did Andy realize Laura's twisted intentions from the start. She had kidnapped Kona and was trying to drag the siblings into this nightmare. Panicked, Andy told the director, who skeptically went with him to Laura's house to check the story. But when they entered, they found the room unexpectedly clean. No mess, no blood. Clearly, Laura had expected the director's visit and cleaned up beforehand. What she didn't expect was Andy secretly sneaking into the backyard. Suspicious of Laura's frequent trips there, Andy searched the shed and soon found Kona gnawing on a corpse inside. Shocked by the horrific scene, Andy immediately fetched the director to get her out of there. When the director arrived at the shed, she was so shocked by Kona's haunted state that she was at a loss for words. They planned to get back to the car to call the police, but in the next moment, Laura crashed into them in retaliation. The director was killed instantly, and Andy was left half dead, face pressed into the rain. Laura pressed Andy's head down until he lost consciousness, then let go. Everyone blocking Laura was now dead, except blind Piper, who seemed no threat. Laura took Piper home, planned to knock her out while she was unaware, but when she stepped inside, the sharp, metallic scent of blood hit her. Something was wrong. Realizing she'd misjudged her brother, Piper panicked and locked herself in the bathroom. But inside, she found her brother's mutilated body. Horror gripped her. As she collapsed in shock, the bathroom door suddenly burst open. Laura stood in the doorway, but Piper hit her in the head. Laura's plan finally reaches its dark climax. She drags Piper to the edge of the pool, ready to drown her. Suddenly, Piper wakes up, gasping and crying out, "Mom!" That one word hits Laura with unbearable weight. She has already kidnapped Connor, killed the principal and Andy, and now intends to drown her own daughter, all in a twisted attempt to save her. Wanting to protect her daughter isn't wrong, but Laura's obsession spirals into madness. On the surface, it's all for Piper, yet inside she's terrified of losing her. When Piper, nearly drowning, calls Mom, Laura is struck with painful clarity. She realizes her terrible mistake, releasing her daughter and ending this harrowing ritual born of love gone mad. The pool sits silent and eerie. Laura, consumed by guilt and sorrow, cradles her daughter's broken body, waiting for the end.
And that's the end of the movie. If you liked the video, drop a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more horror like this. Stay safe out there. Shh.